Day, beautiful people. Today we will take a look at your physical examination of your urine. Other laboratories make use of the macroscopic exam of your urine. So for this one, under the physical examination of your urine, we will take a look at the urine color as well as the clarity of the urine or clarity or the turbidity of the urine, and then specific gravity accordingly is part of the physical. Specific gravity again is accordingly part of the physical examination of your urine. Urine color. Please note that your urine color ranges from colorless to black. It ranges from colorless to black. Yes, you can have green, you can have red, you can have dark yellow as a urine color. Please note that there are bizarre colors of the urine like green, purple, okay, brown, those items. And yes, sooner when you will work in the clinical laboratory, please do not be surprised. Please do not be surprised if you will receive a green colored urine. Okay, and so because it happens, there are really green colored urine. Okay. Anyway, how are you going to evaluate the color of the urine? The specimen should be examined under a good light source. Please note a good light source, not too dark. And you should look down through the container against a white background. Against a white background. So, your practice in the chemistry laboratory to to really see or evaluate the color produced in the test tube, that is actually true. Okay, and so at times you need a white background, you need your lab gown, you need your white lab gown to be a background to really evaluate your test tubes, the color of the test tube. And yes, that is actually a good practice. So in doing your urine color, we also do that in evaluating the urine color. We need a white background. But then please note that in practice, okay, you will not really need a white background. If you see it as yellow, then it's yellow. If you see it as pink, then it's pink. If you see it as brown, then it's brown. Okay? Again, at times you do not really need a white background in practice to evaluate the urine color. Anyway, your urine color is determined by the concentration of your urine. It is determined by the concentration of your urine. So in this case, if the urine is less concentrated or if the urine is dilute, then you will have a pale colored urine. Again, if the urine is dilute or it has a lesser concentration, then it is pale in color. Okay, in contrast, if the urine is concentrated or it is more concentrated, then it will give you a dark urine color, or it will give you a dark color, dark yellow color somewhat. Okay, so your normal urine color ranges from straw to amber. Straw, pale yellow. Of course, straw is lighter than pale yellow. Okay, and so straw is somewhat leaning towards the white color. Okay, it's leaning towards the white color. Okay, or the colorless one. It's leaning towards colorless. Anyway, you have pale yellow, light yellow, yellow, dark yellow, and amber. Of course, amber, this one is darker than dark yellow. If you have seen your reagent, the brown reagent bottles in the laboratory, okay, your brown reagent bottles in the laboratory, that is actually amber bottles. Okay, your urine color is affected by normal metabolic functions, physical activity, ingested materials, and or pathologic conditions. Okay, and so yes, of course, please note there are pathologic conditions that will impart a brown colored urine. Or sorry, there are metabolic conditions that will impart a specific urine color. Again, please note there are metabolic conditions that will impart a specific urine color. Like, let's say, for example, in case of intravascular hemolysis. Intravascular hemolysis, it will give you a clear red urine color. Okay, and other metabolic conditions. Of course, later on we will take a look at this pathologic. We will take a look at these pathologic conditions. And then you have your ingested materials. Please note, ingested materials, they affect. Again, so they affect the urine color. They affect your urine color. Like, let's say, for example, in the case of your ingestion of generous amounts of beets. Again, generous amount of beets will give you a pink or red urine color. And yes, it is not pathologic. Probably it is caused by your ingested beets. What else? High doses of vitamin B. Okay, or yes, high doses of vitamin B will give you a yellow color. Okay, or a bright yellow color. Ganun actually. High doses of vitamin B, high, yes, will give you a bright yellow color. Okay, what else? Blackberries. Okay, and then other ingested materials. Please note, ingested materials will give you a darker, I mean, yes, it will impart, it will affect the urine, it will influence the urine color. What else? Physical activity. Again, so physical activity and metabolic functions, of course, uh affect or they influence also your urine color. So let's say, for example, in case of strenuous exercise, your metabolic or your physical activity or your metabolic uh, rate is increased. Okay, in case of strenuous activity or strenuous exercise or physical activity, your metabolic rate is increased. During this time, you will lose water through perspiration. And of course, during the activity, of course, it involves muscle. That is why your muscles produce metabolic waste. Your muscles produce metabolic wastes somewhat. Of course, these metabolic wastes will be excreted through the urine. Okay, and so affecting the urine color. Again, sabi natin, if it is concentrated, it will give you a darker urine color. If it is less concentrated or if it is dilute, it will give you a lighter urine color. That is, please note, in relation to your urine. Again, urine variations in the color of your urine, it is affected by pathologic conditions, okay, and so, or disease states, ingested materials, physical activity, and normal metabolic functions. Urine pigments. First on the list here is your urochrome. This one is your major urine pigment. Your urochrome is responsible for the yellow color of the urine. Okay, and it is excreted at a constant rate as a product of endogenous metabolism. And yes, it is a dependent. Urochrome excretion is dependent on metabolism. If you increase your metabolism, there will be an increase in the urochrome excretion. So, in case of thyroid conditions, there is an increased urochrome. So, example of these thyroid conditions that will increase urochrome secretion, thyrotoxicosis. Thyrotoxicosis, what happens in thyrotoxicosis? In thyrotoxicosis, there is an increase in your thyroid hormone. So what are these thyroid hormone? You have your T3 and T4. You have T3 and T4 are increased in thyrotoxicosis. And what is the function of this T3 and T4? They function for metabolism. If increased T3 and T4, then metabolism also is increased. Metabolism also is increased. And if there is an increased metabolism, your urochrome excretion also is increased. That is why in case of thyroid or in case of thyrotoxicosis, urochrome excretion is increased. Aside from thyroid conditions like thyrotoxicosis, fasting states accordingly will increase the urochrome pigment. okay, as well as starvation, oh sorry, fever. And yes, fever and starvation will cause an increase in the release or excretion of urochrome pigment. And then you have your uroerythrin. Okay, your uroerythrin is a minor pigment, minor urine pigment. And yes, it is a pink pigment that has high affinity to your amorphous urates. It has a high affinity to your amorphous urates. Okay, and yes, your amorphous urates, they are precipitated at refrigerator temperature or in cold temperature. So that is why if you place a if you place a urine sample in the refrigerator and that urine sample has generous amounts of amorphous urates, okay, it will be attached, okay, with your uroerythrin, causing a pink coloration of the urine in cold temperature. Okay, and so uroerythrin, again, it is a pink pigment that has high affinity with urates. And yes, this one, your uroerythrin, is responsible for the pink coloration of the urine sample in refrigerator or in cold temperature, in temperatures below the room temperature. Anyway, you have your urobilin. Your urobilin here imparts an orange-brown color to the urine that is not fresh. Okay, so your urobilin, this one is an oxidation product of your urobilinogen. If you try to go back to what we learned last time about the changes in an unpreserved urine, sabi natin doon, it says modified or darkened. The color is modified or darkened. Why? Because in an unpreserved urine, again in an unpreserved urine, the color is modified or darkened. Okay, why? Sabi niyo doon, the reason stated is your urobilinogen is oxidized to urobilin, causing a darkened urine color. Okay, your urobilin, it imparts an orange-brown color to the urine that is not fresh. And yes, your urobilin is an oxidation product of your urobilinogen. Please note that a normal individual excretes, okay, a low amount of urobilinogen. And yes, if left standing at room temperature, your urobilinogen will be oxidized to form urobilin. Urobilin is a pigment that imparts an orange-brown color to a urine that is not fresh. Have here your laboratory correlations of urine color. Okay, you have here your colorless urine. It is seen in recent fluid consumption. Colorless urine is seen in recent fluid consumption. Okay, what else? Pale yellow. Okay, pale yellow urine samples are caused by polyuria. Okay, and so please note you have two conditions that causes polyuria. First, you have diabetes insipidus. In case of diabetes insipidus, of course, there is an increased 24-hour urine volume with low specific gravity, diba? And then you have your diabetes insipidus. This one will also cause polyuria. But then, okay, in case of this, polyuria caused by diabetes mellitus will have a specific gravity, an elevated specific gravity, an increased specific gravity. And of course, upon chemical testing for glucose, it will give a positive glucose test. And then what else? Dark yellow. Dark yellow colored urine, dark yellow urine, these are caused by concentrated urine samples, concentrated specimens. And yes, usually concentrated samples, your first morning urine is a concentrated sample. Okay, or after a strenuous exercise or a physical activity, okay, you will have a dark yellow colored urine. You will have a concentrated urine. Okay, what else? Bilirubin. Bilirubin will give you a dark yellow color. Bilirubin will give you a dark yellow color. But then How are you? This is an initial test to determine if a bilirubin is present in a dark yellow color. How are you going to do that? You do a shake test. You get your urine sample and you shake, shake, shake. After shaking, of course, you observe the color of the foam. Okay? If bilirubin is present, then the color of the foam is yellow. If bilirubin is present in the sample, then the color of the foam is yellow. Okay? And so, yes. Okay, and so further testing, chemical testing will identify if bilirubin really is present. And by the way, okay, and so sample handling in case of bilirubin determinations in the urine, it is just the same with handling in with your handling in biochemistry, handling in plasma handling for bilirubin testing. You need to protect it from light also. You need to protect it from light. Okay. What else? Carotene. Okay. Carotene accordingly will give you a urine color that is dark yellow. Carotene, food that are rich in carotene. You have carrots, of course, or vitamin A rich food. Okay, generous amount, ingestion of generous amounts of carotene, okay, will impart a dark yellow color. What else? B complex. Okay, B complex. Okay, and so we'll give you a yellow color. Okay, and so vitamin B complex vitamins. What else? Okay, you have acryflavin, acryflavin here, and then nitrofurantoin. Nitrofurantoin is an antibiotic administered to treat UTI. And yes, acryflavin and nitrofurantoin, they will give you a dark yellow color. Okay? Amber. Amber accordingly is darker than dark yellow. Okay? And they are seen in cases of dehydration, fever, and burns. And then you have orange yellow color. Orange yellow color, probably caused by phenazopyridine or pyridium. How are you going to check if phenazopyridine is really the one causing the orange yellow color? You do a foam shake test. You do a foam shake test. Shake, 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 and then allow to settle and then observe the color of the foam. Okay, if the foam is orange, then if the foam is orange and the urine sample is viscous, then the substance present in the urine that causes the orange-yellow coloration is phenazopyridine or pyridium. Okay, what else? Substances or ingested substances that will cause orange-yellow color. You have phenendione. It is an anticoagulant that will that turns that that produces an orange. Okay, and so phenedione, and it is an anticoagulant that produces an orange color of the urine in an alkaline environment and colorless in acidic urine. Again, phenedione, it is alkaline. I mean, the urine color is orange in an alkaline urine and colorless in acidic urine. And then sulfasalazine. Sulfasalazine, this one is an anti-inflammatory drug that produces an orange-yellow color. Okay, and so produces an orange-yellow. Okay, your yellow-green color. Your yellow-green, this is caused by, it is caused by biliverdin. Your biliverdin here is an oxidized form of bilirubin. Okay, if all of the bilirubin present in the urine sample is oxidized into biliverdin, it will give you a yellow-green color. If that happens, that all of your oxidized bilirubin is converted or oxidized to bilirubin, then testing or chemical testing of bilirubin will give a false negative result. Again, biliverdin, it is an oxidized form of bilirubin and it will impart a yellow-green color. What about green color? Pseudomonas infection. Okay, Pseudomonas infection will give you a green color. Of course, subjected to uh, urine culture and sensitivity. What else? Asparagus. Asparagus. This one will give you a green urine color also. Asparagus is an herb. Okay, and so we take it in somewhat, and then you have blue green. Blue green urine colors is caused by amitriptyline, methocarbamol, chlorets. Please note chlorets here is a breath freshener. Okay, and so it's like a candy that is the size of a pellet gun. Okay, and so pellet gun pellets. Okay, and so for chlorets. And yes, it is a breath freshener. It is green in color and it is a candy or it is a breath freshener. Methylene blue. Okay, and so methylene blue, we use this one in fistulas. Phenol, okay, and so when oxidized, phenol when oxidized will give you a blue-green urine color. And then indicans, okay, and so indicans, of course, okay, and so in case of intestinal disorders and bacterial infections, will produce blue-green color. What else? Chlorophyll, okay, uh, your your amitriptyline here is an antidepressant that will produce a blue-green color. Your methocarbamol a is a drug that is intended to relax the muscle, or it is a muscle relaxant. It is a muscle relaxant that, of course, will impart a blue-green urine color. What else? Okay, your blue diaper syndrome or your familial hypercalcemia. Okay, familial hypercalcemia or your blue diaper syndrome, of course, will impart a blue-green urine color. Okay, and then of course you have your uh, burgundy or purplish red. Your burgundy or purplish red, of course, it is caused by porphyrins. It is caused by porphyrins. Okay, your porphyrins here, please note, okay, it requires special testing. Okay, it requires special testing. And yes, it will not give a positive test for blood. Okay, and yes, it requires special testing. Please note, you have a special preservative utilized for porphyrins and porphobilinogens. Okay, and so please go back to our lecture to know it, to our previous lecture. And then you have your pink or red urine. Of course, if you have a cloudy red or smoky red urine, that is caused by intact red cells. By the way, when you say presence of intact red cells in the urine, it is hematuria. The term is hematuria, or hematuria is defined as the presence of intact red cells in the urine. And yes, hematuria will give you a cloudy red or smoky red urine. Okay, presence of hemoglobin in the urine will produce or will give you a clear red urine. Okay, or hemoglobinuria, this is the term that denotes the presence of hemoglobin in the urine. And what causes hemoglobinuria? Intravascular hemolysis. Intravascular hemolysis will cause hemoglobinuria. And then you have myoglobinuria. Okay, myoglobinuria or presence of myoglobin in the urine will cause clear red urine. Okay, it will cause clear red urine. Okay, it will cause clear red urine or reddish brown or cola colored. Okay, and yes, your causes of myoglobinuria, you have muscle damage. Okay, muscle destruction. And yes, rhabdomyolysis. This is a must. This yes. Okay, and so it will cause myoglobinuria. What else? Menstrual contamination. Okay, and so what is present in your menses? First, of course, you have blood cells. Blood cells are present in your menses. Okay, and yes, if the urine is contaminated with menses, then it will give you a red color or cloudy red or smoky red color. What else? Rifampin. Rifampin here is Rifampin here is a drug utilized to treat tuberculosis. It is a drug utilized to treat tuberculosis. And yes, it is seen in patients, of course, taking red urine is seen in patients taking in rifampin as an under anti-tuberculosis drug. What else? Okay, your beets. Okay, your beets, this one, kinakain po ito. Okay, and so beets will produce a pink or red urine or pink or red in an alkaline urine of people who are genetically susceptible. For beets, it will give you pink or red urine in an alkaline environment or pink or red in alkaline urine for individuals who are genetically susceptible. Okay, by the way, please note that this hematuria, hemoglobinuria, and myoglobinuria, as well as menstrual contamination, will give you a will give you a positive chemical test for blood. It will give you a positive chemical test for blood. Of course, this one, okay, in the microscopic examination, it will give you intact red cells. Dito naman, it will not give you intact red cells. Okay? And then, of course, you have brown black or, okay, what do you call this? Please note that oxidation, okay, oxidation of red cells or the hemoglobin present in your red cells here will cause methemoglobin. And yes, okay, oxidation of your red cells or the hemoglobin present will produce hemoglobin. Or sorry, okay, oxidation of this one, your red cells and your hemoglobin present will produce methemoglobin. Okay, it will produce methemoglobin. Please note that methemoglobin, okay, methemoglobin will give you red-brown urine color in acidic urine after standing. Okay, and so please note, okay, methemoglobin will give you a red-brown your urine color in acidic environment after standing. Of course, still it will give you a positive blood, a chemical test for blood. Okay, and so again, if your red cells and hemoglobin, they are oxidized, they will form methemoglobin. Okay, they will form methemoglobin. And yes, in acidic urine after standing, again, in acidic urine after standing, your methemoglobin will produce brown or black, will produce red-brown urine color. It will produce red-brown urine color. Okay? So, yes, your myoglobin accordingly will also produce red-brown urine color, reddish-brown urine color. Okay, and then of course you have here your brown-black. Okay, brown-black. You have your homogentisic acid. Homogentisic acid. Okay, your homogentisic acid, okay, in alkaline urine after standing, it will impart a black coloration. In an alkaline urine after standing, it will impart black coloration. Please note that homogentisic acid here is a metabolite of phenylalanine. It is a metabolite of phenylalanine. And yes, excretion of homogentisic acid is seen in diseases, in alkaptonuria. Alkaptonuria is a disease that will cause renal excretion of homogentisic acid. What else? What you call this melanoma or malignant melanoma or presence of melanin or melanogen in the urine. Okay, and so yes, melanin or melanogen in the urine. Okay, please note that in this case, upon exposure to air, your urine darkens. Okay, and so urine darkens on standing and reacts with nitroprusside and ferric chloride. But then in terms of the color, melanin will turn black or brown black upon standing once exposed to air. Okay, and then you have your phenol derivative. Okay, and so phenol derivative will produce a brown black urine color. Your algerol Okay, this one is an antiseptic. Okay, and methyl dopa or levodopa. Metronidazole will also give you such urine colors. Okay, look at your red urine that is caused by blood. Okay, let's take a look at your red urine. Okay, and so the presence of hemoglobin in the urine, okay, you term it as hemoglobinuria. The presence of myoglobin in the urine, you term it as myoglobinuria. And yes, what are the causes of hemoglobinuria? Okay, you have here intravascular hemolysis. Intravascular hemolysis will cause hemoglobinuria. Okay, while myoglobinuria is caused by breakdown of skeletal muscles or rhabdomyolysis. Okay, and so both of these will give you a clear red urine. It will give you a clear red urine. Okay, and so cloudy red urine, okay, it is caused by intact red cells. And yes, presence of intact red cells in the urine is termed as hematuria. Okay, you're clear. Okay, this is our concern here. How are we going to what do you call this? You're clear red urine. This is the concern. How are we going to distinguish? How are we going to know? Okay, and so if it is hemoglobin or myoglobin without doing other chemical tests. Okay, and so please note that both of these they have a clear urine. Okay, and so how are you going to check? You collect urine, I mean you collect whole blood. Okay, and so you collect a whole blood. You do venipuncture sa patient, and then after that, okay, you spin, you centrifuge the plasma, the whole blood, you centrifuge the whole blood, and then after that, you examine the plasma. Okay, you examine the plasma. Okay, you examine the plasma. Okay, and so yes, if the plasma is red, then it will give you, yes, hemoglobinuria. If the plasma is red, then it is hemoglobinuria. If the plasma is clear, then it is myoglobinuria, or myoglobin is present in the urine that causes the red color. Or if red plasma is obtained, then the substance present in the urine that causes the red coloration of the urine is hemoglobin. Okay, and so bakit po? Please note that in terms of clearance, in terms of clearance, again, your myoglobinuria, it is from your myoglobin, it is from the breakdown of your skeletal muscles. Again, in terms of clearance, your myoglobin is easily filtered. Okay, your myoglobin is easily filtered. It is cleared rapidly from the plasma. Okay, and so it is cleared rapidly from the plasma, often hours after muscle injury. Okay, and so often hours after muscle injury. While dito po, in case of hemoglobin, your hemoglobin, in case if there is a, in case there is, what do you call this, in case there is intravascular hemolysis, what will happen? Okay, your hemoglobin is salvage. Okay, your hemoglobin is salvage. How is that done? Your haptoglobin, okay, your haptoglobin will bind accordingly to your hemoglobin. Okay, your haptoglobin will bind to your hemoglobin. Okay, it will bind to your hemoglobin so that it will not, okay, and so be released, okay, or it will not be filtered in the kidneys. Okay, so that it will not be filtered in the kidneys. Please note that once your haptoglobin is saturated, then that is the time that your hemoglobin will appear in the plasma or in the ultrafiltrate or in the urine. Again, once that haptoglobin is saturated, napuno na siya, hindi na nila kaya, napuno na ang haptoglobin, they cannot anymore accommodate the free hemoglobin present in the circulation. Then that is the time that it will leak out of the glomerular filter. Okay, it will leak out of the glomerular filter, causing you a red urine. Okay, ganun po siya. That is why if you have a clear plasma, it is caused, the red coloration is caused by myoglobin. If you have a red plasma, then the red coloration of the urine is caused by hemoglobin. Okay, here are your urine color changes with commonly utilized drugs. First on the list is your levodopa. Your levodopa here is utilized for Parkinson's. And yes, it will impart a cola-colored urine. Your mipacrin is an anti-malarial drug. Okay, by the way, in case of this, please note, as well as metronidazole, no? Okay, on every time that I go out on a hike, I make sure that I will not be bitten by a mosquito. Okay, as well as I always make sure that I have enough water with me so that I will not fetch water from any streams in the wilderness or in yes, okay, so along the trail. Because of course it will pose it there is actually a risk of possible infection with yes, possible infection with protozoans naman. Okay, and so anyway, your mepacrin is an anti-malarial drug, and it will give you a yellow colored urine. Your methyl dopa, it is an antihypertensive, and yes, it is an antihypertensive, and yes, it will give you a brown color, or the color of the urine darkens, and if oxidizer or oxidizing agents is present, it will give you a red brown color for your methyl dopa. Okay, and then of course you have your metronidazole. Your metronidazole, again, this one is metronidazole. It is an antiparasitic. Okay, antiparasitic, antiprotozoan. Of course, it will give you a red-brown color. Your phenazopyridine, orange red color. This one is urinary analgesic. Your rifampin is a drug utilized to treat tuberculosis. Okay, it will give you a red-brown or red-orange or bright orange red urine for rifampin, bright orange red, and then riboflavin. This is actually a food supplement, no? Your vitamin B complex will give you a bright yellow color. Okay, and so you try to observe if you take in Enervon. Okay, it will give you a bright yellow color actually. And then you have, excuse me, and then you have your beets. Okay, and so this is not actually a drug anymore, your beets. Okay, please note that it will give you a red urine or in acidic or red color in acidic environment. Okay, in patients with a genetic susceptibility. And your blackberries. Blackberries will give you red color in acidic urine. Okay, will give you red color in acidic urine. Okay, and so for some commonly used drugs. Your urine clarity, this one refers to the transparency or turbidity of a urine specimen. Okay, and so clear. Okay, that is again, urine clarity refers to the transparency or turbidity of a urine sample. And yes, please note that your urine clarity will give you a snapshot of the amount of material that will be observed in a microscope. Again, urine clarity, it refers to the transparency, and again, it is a key to the microscopic exam result. Okay, please note that somewhat the amount of turbidity of the urine or amount of turbidity of their urine sample should correspond with the amount of material observed in the microscope. Again, please note it will give you a snapshot, okay, about the contents of the urine. Okay, it will give you a snapshot about the sediment content of the urine. That is for your urine clarity. And yes, how are you going to evaluate or yes, evaluate your urine clarity? It is evaluated by visually examining a mixed specimen in a clear container while holding it in front of a light source. Okay, and so of course, well mixed. Okay, and so in urine or in urine analysis, of course, you have the sample, you mix first, you swirl before you before you examine the color, the clarity, and of course, before you dip the urine reagent strip. Okay, you swirl, you mix before you examine the color, before you examine the clarity, and then before you dip your reagent strip. Okay, and yes, your urine clarity, you have your most commonly utilized terminologies. You have your clear, hazy, cloudy, turbid, milky. Okay, and so those are the most common utilized terminologies. Okay, and so you have your terms utilized for urine clarity, for the clarity of your urine. So first on the list is clear. Clear here means there are no visible particulates. Okay, there are no visible particulates, and it is transparent, or yeah, it is transparent. Normally, a urine is clear. Okay, and so normally a urine is clear accordingly. And then you have your hazy. When you say hazy, you have few particulates that are, or few particulates, and the print is easily seen through the urine. And then cloudy, you have many particulates, and the print is blurred through the urine. And when you say turbid, the print cannot be seen through the urine. Okay, and when you say milky, you have many precipitates or may be clotted accordingly. Again, in for some laboratories, they make use of the terms slightly cloudy, slightly turbid, as such. Okay, and so it depends actually on the laboratory's protocol and how they report it. Okay, and so but then normally a urine color is clear. Okay, and yes, of course, please note that presence of turbidity, okay, or presence of particulate matters in the urine means, okay, and so again, it means it needs to be investigated accordingly. Okay, and so yes, turbidity of your crystal, turbidity of your urine sample may be due to, or cloudiness, okay, of your urine sample may be due to precipitation of crystals. Okay, maybe due to precipitation of crystals or non-pathologic substances known as your amorphous substances. Okay, and so examples of this, you have your amorphous phosphates, your ammonium urates, carbonates. These ones can precipitate. Okay, and so in alkaline urine. Okay, they can precipitate in alkaline urine. Okay, and yes, these ones, of course, they will precipitate in alkaline urine if you acidify. If you acidify the urine, then it will dissolve also. In contrast, your uric acid and urates will cause a white, pink, or orange cloud in the urine, and warming will dissolve these substances accordingly. Okay, and so of course, cloudy urine. Okay, cloudy urine, probably it means there is leukocytes or various cellular substances. Clarity. And then you have here your non-pathologic causes of turbidity. Please note non-pathologic, meaning they do not indicate or they do not correlate with a disease process. Again, when you say non-pathologic, they do not indicate a disease process or they do not indicate an ongoing disease process. Okay, you have here your squamous epithelial cells and mucus. squamous epithelial cells po ha. It is squamous, not renal tubular epithelial cells. Squamous epithelial cells probably from your urethra or from your from the external genitalia of females. Okay, and of course, mucus. Please note that these ones they are not pathologic. Amorphous phosphates and amorphous carbonates. Amorphous phosphates and amorphous carbonates, they do not have a definite, I mean, your amorphous phosphates and amorphous carbonates, they do not indicate a disease process. Non-pathologic po. Okay, and so if you see such amorphous phosphates or amorphous carbonates in the urine upon microscopic exam, then of course just report it as amorphous urates. Please note they will cause a non-pathologic, they will cause turbidity. And yes, these ones are not related to any disease process. Your amorphous urates and uric acid. Amorphous urates and uric acid. When you say amorphous phosphates again, it will give you a white coloration. Okay, and then amorphous urates, it will give you a pink coloration because again, pink coloration to the urine sample again because your urates, your uroerythrin, it has high affinity to your urates. And going back, your uroerythrin, it is a pink pigment that has high affinity with the amorphous urates. Okay, and then you have your semen. Please note ha, semen appear, I mean, yes, the presence of semen in the sample is non-pathologic. It does not mean or doesn't indicate a disease process. Probably it is a contamination or mis uh the patient is misinformed. Okay, the patient is misinformed or misguided. Okay, and so because again, as what I've told you last time, that your instructions matter. Okay, the instructions that we give to our patients, they matter. Okay, please note po, they matter. Okay, that is why as much as possible, we make use of the language that is most understood by the patient in giving instructions. Because again, okay, and so what do you call this? The urine sample submitted by the patient will all the sample submitted by the patient will also reflect, okay, it will also reflect your instruction, how you instructed. Okay, aside from that, non-pathologic cause of turbidity, fecal contamination. Of course, if there is a fecal contamination, this is a subject for rejection. Okay, and so a contaminated urine sample, contaminated with feces. Okay, and so what will it medical technologists do? Reject the urine sample. Reject the urine sample in for of course inform the patient. And then presence of radiographic contrast media, this one is utilized in this radiographic contrast media. These are substances utilized or introduced into the body that will somewhat enhance the visibility of the structures inside. Okay, structures inside the body. Okay, and yes, it is utilized in before. Okay, radiographic contrast media. These are what we call this. They are administered to the patient uh before undergoing CT scan or magnetic resonance imaging, such. Okay, and so that is for your radiographic contrast media. And yes, it will cause non-pathologic turbidity or it will cause turbidity to the urine sample. And then, of course, contamination with talcum powder and vaginal creams. Okay, of course, these are introduced externally. Okay, and so your talcum powder, okay, and vaginal creams. Okay, and so for those individuals, kaya po dapat, okay, and so before urine collection in females, you need to, accordingly to clean the external genitalia. You need to clean the external genitalia. Again, talcum powder and vaginal creams. Again, so please note that these are introduced externally. Okay, and so they are introduced externally. That is why it is important that before collection for females, they should clean the external genitalia. Okay, those are non-pathologic causes of urine turbidity. Your pathologic turbidity of the urine. Please note that your red blood cells and WBCs, they will cause turbidity. If you try to remember, sabi natin, a smoky red or cloudy red urine is caused by intact red cells present in the urine. And normally, there should be no red cells or WBCs in the urine. Presence of such will indicate a disease process. Again, red cells or in WBCs, they should remain inside the blood vessel, inside the glomerulus. But then, okay, damage to your glomerulus may cause a leakage of cells in the leakage of cells. Okay, they may pass through the glomerular filtration barrier, leaking out to your tubules. Okay, and yes, please note WBCs, presence of such may indicate a disease process, an infection. Okay, presence of WBCs may indicate infection. Aside from that, bacteria. Bacteria accordingly causes uniform urine turbidity. But please note, urine normally is sterile. And normally it is sterile, as what we said, and bacteria should be absent in the urine. But then in the presence of bacteria, it means there is an infection that is going on inside the patient. Okay, probably there is a UTI. Okay, and then abnormal amounts of non-squamous epithelial cells. Abnormal amounts of non-squamous epithelial cells, your renal tubular epithelial cells. Presence of your RTE means a disease process, a disease in the kidneys, somewhat. Okay, and so your non-squamous epithelial cells, again, like your RTE. Okay, and so presence of such may indicate a disease process taking place inside the body. What else? Lymph fluid or discharge of milky or discharge of lymph in the urine. Okay, discharge of lymph in the urine will cause pathologic turbidity. Okay, please note, okay, you have this term chyluria. Chyluria is the discharge of milky white urine. So what is present in the urine? You have lymph fluid. Okay, and so chyluria, this one is caused by rupture of lymph flow or obstruction of lymph vessels. This is caused by obstruction of lymph flow or obstruction of lymph vessels. And yes, of course. Okay, and so this chyluria is caused probably by uh, lymph node enlargement, aside from such, and two more accordingly. Okay, and so filariasis caused by Wuchereria bancrofti will cause chyluria. Okay, filariasis caused by Wuchereria bancrofti will cause chyluria. But then please note this chyluria here is very rare. Okay, and so chyluria is very rare accordingly. Okay, again, aside from filariasis, abdominal lymph node enlargement will cause chyluria, tumors, as well as scoliosis surgery and pregnancy. Accordingly, these ones are also reported to be associated with chyluria. Okay, and then you have lipiduria or lipids in the urine. Okay, lipids in the urine will cause, accordingly, may cause pathologic turbidity. Okay, and so normally lipids, okay, and so lipids cannot, okay, and so they cannot cross the glomerular filtration barrier. Okay, accordingly, okay, in lipiduria, fat globules appear in the urine. And yes, this is most often associated with nephrotic syndrome. In nephrotic syndrome, the glomerulus is damaged. In nephrotic syndrome, the glomerulus is damaged. Okay, and so again, flat fat globules that is that appears in the urine of someone with nephrotic syndrome consists of neutral fats or triglycerides and cholesterol. Okay, and so yes, lipiduria. In case of lipiduria, you have fat globules that appear in the urine and it is associated with nephrotic syndrome. And these fat globules contain or they consist neutral fats and cholesterol. Okay, aside from nephrotic syndrome, lipiduria accordingly can also be present in patients with skeletal trauma. Okay, and so or with yes, those individuals with fractures to the major long bones. Okay, or the pelvis. Okay, and so lipiduria can also be seen in patients with skeletal trauma with fractures to the major long bones or the pelvis. Because accordingly, okay, and so what is present inside, okay, is your bone marrow. You have a fatty marrow inside. So, in case of skeletal trauma or fractures to the long bones, the source of lipids in lipiduria that is caused by skeletal trauma or fractures to your long bones is the exposed fatty marrow. The exposed fatty marrow. Of course, aside from your bacteria, yeast, or aside from the following listed, yeast will cause turbidity. Of course, it may indicate infection. It may indicate infection. Aside from that, abnormal crystals. Abnormal crystals will cause presence of generous amounts of abnormal crystals will cause pathologic turbidity. It will cause pathologic turbidity accordingly. Okay, so yes, we'll take a look on how to identify the cause of turbidity using physical and chemical testing. Please note that in acidic urine, the cause of turbidity is your amorphous urates and radiographic contrast media, whereas in your alkaline urine, it is caused by amorphous phosphates and amorphous carbonates. Okay, amorphous phosphates and amorphous carbonates will cause turbidity in an alkaline urine. Okay, and so employing solubility with heat or with acids or with ether will somewhat identify the substance present that cause the turbidity. So if okay, so suppose a urine sample is turbid and you heat it and you heat it and it clears after heating. Okay, if it clears after heating, then the substance present are amorphous phosphates and uric acid crystals. Okay, and so if the urine becomes clear after heating, then the turbidity is likely caused by amorphous phosphates and uric acid crystals. Please note that heating will dissolve these crystals accordingly. And then soluble with dilute acetic acid. Okay, and so if okay, you added dilute acetic acid to a urine that is turbid and it clears, then the possible causes of the turbidity are red cells, amorphous phosphates, and carbonates. Okay, and so if you employ dilute acetic acid in a turbid urine and it cleared. Okay, again, the possible causes of the Urine turbidity are red cells, presence of intact red cells, amorphous phosphates, and amorphous carbonates. Okay, please note acetic acid will dissolve red cells, it will dissolve amorphous phosphates and carbonates. And then, okay, your WBCs, your bacteria, your yeasts, your spermatozoa, they're insoluble with dilute acetic acid. Okay, and so of course, employing dilute acetic acid to possibly produce a clear sample, okay, if these are present, will not be successful. Okay, and so yes, cloudiness will not disappear. Okay, and so if WBC's bacteria, yeast, and spermatozoa are present in a urine sample that is treated with dilute acetic acid. Again, cloudiness or turbidity will not disappear if you treat a urine sample containing WBC, bacteria, yeast, spermatozoa, if you treat a urine sample containing such with dilute acetic acid, because again, they will not be dissolved. They are not soluble. And then, of course, okay, you have your ether. Your ether, okay, your ether, if you employed ether in a turbid urine sample, the following should be dissolved. Okay, and so, or if turbidity clears after adding ether in a turbid sample, then the following are the cause, or the following causes the turbidity. Lipids, okay, and so because you know lipids, it is soluble in ether. Lymphatic fluid is soluble in ether as well as chyle. Okay? Yes, your urine odor. Please note that normally urine odor is not reported in a routine urine analysis. Okay, but then of course there are specific urine odors that is associated to a disease process, okay, or to a pathologic condition. And normally the normal odor of the urine is faint aromatic odor, okay, of undetermined source. Okay, and so it is aromatic. Yes, again po, it is aromatic, not ammoniacal. Okay, ayan. So, if the urine does not have an odor, okay, and so then probably it is a urine of individuals with the acute renal failure, or yes, acute renal failure with acute tubular necrosis. Okay, and so acute renal failure or acute tubular necrosis will give a lack of odor. Okay, and so yes, foul or ammonia-like odor, it is caused by bacteria or UTI. Yes, bacteria. Okay, and then fruity or sweatish odor is caused by diabetes, okay, or ketoacidosis, diabetes mellitus, starvation, and vomiting. Okay, actually, it's ketoacidosis or presence of ketones. Okay, and then you have a pungent smell. Okay, and so probably caused by ingestion of asparagus, garlic, eggs, and onions. Okay, and so fecaloid smell. Okay, and so rectovesical fistula, or yes, rectovesical fistula. And yes, bleach-like. Okay, bleach-like odor. Okay, and so you have what you call this contamination accordingly. Maple syrup. Okay, and so this is caused by maple syrup urine disease. Maple syrup odor caused by maple syrup urine disease. Then you have your mousy odor. Okay, and so or mousy or musty. Okay, caused by PKU. Rotting fish. Rotting fish here, okay, caused by trimethyl, sorry, trimethylaminoria. trimethylaminoria. And then rancid odor caused by tyrosinemia. Rancid odor caused by tyrosinemia. Malabsorption. Methionine malabsorption will give you a cabbage or a hops odor. Cabbage or hops odor. Okay? And then isovaleric acidemia and glutaric acidemia. Isovaleric and glutaric acidemia will give you a sweaty feet, okay? Sweaty feet odor. Okay, and then of course, you have what do you call this? Rotten eggs. Okay, and so rotten eggs odor or sulfur or rotten egg odor is caused by cystinuria. Cystinuria will give you rotten egg or sulfur odor. And then, yes, your swimming pool odor. Okay, and so odor of a swimming pool is your Hawkinsinuria. Hawkinsinuria, this is your inability to break down tyrosine. This is your inability to break down tyrosine. Okay, we will end here. Okay, this has been Gael, reminding you to live fully, love deeply, laugh often, keep learning, and never forget to enjoy the ride. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you around.